If you are new to Excel or if you want to remember some important things, maybe this video can help you out, because here we're going to see how can we create a table in Excel with a lot of different features, such as the filter, for example, and also we're going to see how can we create the headers, creating the data entry, also change the format of the numbers using currency, for example. Also, how can we create a multiplication formula in Excel? How can you create here the slicers that whenever you click in any option, both the table and the chart is going to automatically update the values for you to match the option that you choose before. And also we're going to create here an addition formula or a sum function in Excel. We're going to see both. How can we make a sum function or also a sum formula in Excel, and how can we create here this column chart in Excel that is going to be automatically changed whenever you choose here a new option to see the data in the data set. So I hope this video can help you out, and of course, if you have any questions or any doubts throughout the video, let me know, comment down below, and let's see now how can we create this worksheet in Excel with a lot of different features. Let's go. First thing that I like to start here with is change the name of the worksheet. So we're gonna click with the right click over the sheet 1, just click here and then rename. Or you can double click it, and then I'm going to give it a name such as table. Enter. Now I can come back here to the top of the spreadsheet, just up here, and I'm going to click in the cell B2. And I don't know if you'll just realize it, but when I say cell B2, it's basically a location, a specific cell, because any cell in Excel has a name. So if I say to you, hey, just click in the cell D7, you know exactly the cell that I am talking about. And you can check this information through the name box right here, cell D7, for example, or you can combine the column with the row, column D, row 7. So cell D7, just interesting information. I'm gonna stick with the cell B2, and the first information that I'm gonna use here is the date. I want to start here creating the title of the spreadsheet, the headers. Date, if I hit enter, I'm gonna move down. So enter, 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 enter. I'm going to continue to move down. I'm going to skip the rows. But if you want to move to the right, let's say you're here in the date and you want to move to the right, you can use tab. So press tab or hit the tab, you can move to the right. You can skip through the columns. Let's say date, and then I want to have the product name and also the ID or the SKU quantity, and also the unit cost, and also the total cost. Enter. Simple as that. So basically this is how we can input informations in Excel. Now something interesting that we can change here is, as you can see, there are some columns that is too small to contain the text that is within the cell, such as here, unit cost, and also here, total cost. Both text is too large to just contain within the cell, so they are basically spilling over the cell, spilling out the cell. That way I need to increase a little bit the size of those columns. And to do it, it's pretty much simple. But let's start with the column A, because I want to make it smaller. So I'm going to right click in the column A, and then I go to the column width. Here, instead of using 8, I'm going to use 2 maybe. And I'm going to press enter. That way I can make the column, the first column, the column A, a little bit smaller. And now that I want to change the size of all the other columns, I'm going to start with the column B, click, hold, and drag through over all the columns till you hit the column G. And now, instead of right click and go to column width again, basically I can click in between one column and another, click, hold, and drag to the right, because that way I can increase the size of those columns. So I'm going to do the second option, click, hold, and drag to the right. And if I do the opposite, I can basically make the column a little bit smaller. So we're going to stick with maybe 15 as the width of the column. Okay, now let's start with input the first row as the date itself. The date we usually use in Excel is first the month, but of course it's dependent on the region. Maybe you can start with the day, or maybe you can start with the month. I'm going to start here with the month. So January /1 of 2024. Enter. That's it. Now the product, I'm gonna use item A, tab. The ID or the SKU that I'm gonna use is 100-01. Tab. The quantity 15. Tab. The unit cost 123.15. Tab. And the total cost, we're gonna need to use a formula that is basically a multiplication between the unit cost and the quantity. I'm going to take the quantity times the unit cost to have the total cost. Pretty easy math, but we can do it later. I think it's going to be better. I'm going to just pause the video because I'm going to fill it in here a couple of more rows, and then we can see how we can do the total cost using a multiplication function or formula here in Excel. Okay, so I just finished to fill with all the informations here that I'm going to use, and there is two columns basically that is almost blank that I want to show you some interesting that we can do here. Those columns are the ID and also the total cost, where we're going to do the multiplication formula. Well, let's start with the ID or the SKU. Let's say each one of the items that I have here, item A, B, C, D, they are similar to each other in a way. So I want to use a similar ID. Let's say the item B is going to be 100-02. And item C is going to be something similar, 100-03. But as you can see, there's a logic on those numbers. Basically, it's a sequence. 01, 02, 03, and on and on. Excel is pretty clever, so it can help me to create the sequence. The only thing that I need is the first number, or if you want to use a more complex sequence, you can have 2 or 3 rows filling with the information that we're going to use, and then you select the sequence that you want to use, and just right here in the down right corner of the cell, you click, hold, and drag down, because that way Excel is going to continue the sequence for you like this. So 100, 01, 02, 03, 04, 05, and so on. Let's say instead of make a sequence one by one, I want to actually make a sequence start on 0 and then 10, and the next number following the same logic is going to be 100-20 and then 30 and so on. Excel is pretty smart, so if I select both, click, hold, and drag down, look what's going to happen. 20, 30, 40, 50, and so on. So this is the way that we can create sequences in Excel. Now talking about here the total cost, we can do a simple function here, or a formula, it's better. Because a function, equal sign, whenever you type equal sign and then you just type in basically anything within the cell after the equal sign, you're going to have this list. And whenever you select a function through this list, this is a function, okay? But here we're going to use a formula instead. So equal sign, I want you to have a multiplication here in between the unit cost that is here to the left. So I'm going to click over the cell, use asterisk as the multiplication symbol, asterisk, and then select the second argument, the second value that I want to add to this multiplication. And that's it. If I have here a third value, asterisk the third one, asterisk the fourth one, and on and on. Equal sign, quantity times the unit cost. Enter. Okay, so here we got the total cost. Instead of doing it manually all over again to all these individually cells, I can basically click in the first cell, click, hold, and drag down. As we learned before, when we are doing the sequence, it works in the same way. So Excel brings down the formula for you, following the same logic, taking the quantity times the unit cost for all the rows. And that's it. So we're done with our table, but actually it's not a table itself. It's just a data set. A table in Excel is actually a tool. So if you click here, for example, insert, you're going to have access to this tool, the table, and we can transform any data set into a table. And a table in Excel has a lot of benefits and a lot of different features that I'm going to show you. So before we do it, let's see if everything here is okay. Just one thing that maybe it's good to change is the unit cost and also the total cost, because we are talking about here currency, dollar, let's say. Of course, you can use another currency, but here I'm talking about dollar. So I think it's important to change the format of those numbers and put it into dollar. To do it, basically I need to select everything, and then I can go to the Home tab, and I can click here over the dollar sign. That's it. Because that way I can format as dollar all those numbers. Now I'm going to click within any cell that is within my data set, of course, and then I go to insert, and I'm going to choose the option table, because now I can transform and convert this data set into a table, and we're going to see the benefits that we're going to have. Let me click here, table. Something important to be mindful here is my table has headers. Yes, of course, it has date, product, ID, All those informations are headers, and then I'm going to click OK. That's it. So this is a table in Excel. And as you guys can see, the format is a little bit different. It's with this bluish color. And of course, if you want to change the color or the layout, you can click here, Table Design, and choose another one, such as orange, yellow, green, and on and on. I'm going to stick with a different option here, maybe a yellow one, because I like yellow, so I'm going to stick with this option. But I didn't like the text font here as the header. So I go select everything here, and I'm going to change this title font color. I can click Home tab, click here in the font color, and maybe I can use automatic because it's going to come back to the black one. Now let me select here again everything, and I'm going to align everything in the middle. So I'm going to choose this option here, middle alignment, and also this one here, center. Okay, it's much better. Now that we already done the table, let's see the benefits to use a table in Excel. First, whenever you add a new row, a new information, or a new column, you can see that the table is going to actually take all the format that you used before and bring to those new columns or new rows. Let's say I want to add here a new date, such as January 2nd of 2024, and I'm going to press enter. Look at what's going to happen here. A new row basically add here automatically for me with all the format that I'm currently using, and also the formula, the multiplication formula is also already here. So this is the first benefit to use a table in Excel over just a simple data set. The first benefit basically is the layout that we can choose a lot of different layouts. The second one, whenever you add new rows or new columns, you're gonna have automatically the format that you are currently using, so you don't need to worry about that. And if you want to delete a row, you just basically need to click in the number of the row and then right click, delete. Simple as that. The third benefit here is you have these little squares basically placed to the right of the headers, and if you click here, you can filter or sort the data. So let's say I want to see everything that I have in stock with the quantity larger than 10, for example. I can click in the filter, I can uncheck everything, and then I can select 10, 12, and 15. I click OK, and that's it. Now the table is only showing me the data that corresponds to the values that I selected before. And I can click here again, clear the filter to see everything. I can apply basically the same thing to the date. You can click here and select by year or month or more specific using the day itself. This is the third benefit to use a table in Excel. And the fourth one, instead of using the filter that is just right here to the right of each one of the headers that we have, I can click Table Design and I can add a slicer. A slicer basically is a tool that can filter the data for us. So let me click here, Insert Slicer, and I'm gonna use a slicer using as reference the informations that I have in stock, let's say quantity. I can check here. If you want, you can check more options, but I'm gonna stick just with the quantity, okay? And that's it. Now this is my slicer. I can click, hold, and bring it up just right here. And the benefit to use a slicer is because it's much more easier than use the filters of the table. Check here, for example, if I click, I just want to see the items that has 10 units in stock. I'm gonna click over the 10, and the table already automatically filter and show just the values that corresponds to the option that I select here. If I want to clear all the filter, I just need to click over here, and that's it. I can also click in slicer and choose another option of layout to the slicer itself. I'm gonna stick with this orange option. Another thing that I like maybe the most here when we are talking about slicer options is slicer. And instead of using just one single column, I can use 2, 3, 4, or so on. I'm going to stick with 5 because that way, as you can see, the numbers now are separate to each other in different columns. Instead of using different rows, each number in one row or each option in one row, now we have a lot of different columns. I think it's much better to see the information. Let me bring it to the right a little bit and bring it up like this. That's it. Another option that we have in slicer is the height. I can increase and use maybe 0.5 like this, much better. And if you want to have a multiple selection. Let's say you want to see the 5 and the 6 together. You can click first in the 5 and then mark this option, mode select, and choose the 6, because that way you can have this mode selection. And that's it. Now the last two things that we can have here in this worksheet is, first, we can add up all the values in the total cost to have a grand total. Let's say you want to know the grand total that you have in stock. We can use a sum function to help us, an addition. Another thing that we can have here is a chart to better visualize the data through a easier way, that is the chart. So maybe here in the column, in the cell N2, I'm gonna just basically type it in here, grand total, and just below underneath it, I'm gonna use the equal sign. That is two different ways to sum in Excel. First, we can use a formula that is equal, and then I can select the first cell and I can use the plus sign to add up the second value, plus sign, select the second value, and then plus the third one, add to the fourth one, add to another one, and on and on and on. But here is going to take a long time because we have a lot of different rows to select, a lot of different values to put together in this addition. So instead, I think it's better to use equal sign, the sum function. And maybe something that you can realize here is equal sign. If I click over any cell in my table like this, you can see that instead of I have the name of the cell, I'm gonna have a different address. And this is common happens when you are using a table in Excel. So instead of have, let's say, cell C2, we are having here a different name. Don't worry about that, because when you are using a table in Excel, the reference of the name of a specific cell changes. So basically this cell that I select is the cell in the total cost in the table 1. Just that, okay? But don't need to worry about that. But we can actually select it manually, equal cell G3, okay? So we're gonna type it in, G3, and look what's happened here. The reference is the same, okay? Or G3, or the name that we saw before. Equal sign, the second way to sum in Excel to have an addition is equal sign sum function. Double click here, want you to select, and now it's pretty much easy to add up all the values. Instead of select individually all the numbers, I can click, hold, and drag in the range and make the range that I want to add up the values. And don't need to worry, because whenever you add new rows, the range is gonna increase automatically. Okay, so it's gonna take 100% all the values and all the new values too. Okay, that's it. I'm gonna press enter, and this is my grand total. Okay, 10,000 in stock. Now to finish in this video here, I want to create a chart in Excel. And to create a chart in Excel is pretty much easy. The first thing that we need to do is basically select the information that we want to use in the chart. But here we have a problem. Let's say I want to have a chart showing me the products and also, or compare the products and their quantity in stock. So I need to select the product column and also the quantity column. But here we have a problem. How can I select both columns without select the ID SKU column, without select this column here that is in between those two? To do it, I'm gonna need to use the Control key to first select the first range that you want to use, the product, and then press and hold the Control key. Now I can click over the quantity, click, hold, and drag down. That's it. This is how we can select two different ranges in Excel at the same time. I can click now Insert and select the chart that I'm gonna use. As I'm talking about comparing things, and I have a lot of things to compare, item A, item B, item C, item D, and on, I'm gonna use here a column chart. But actually, I could also use a bar chart, or maybe a tree map chart, maybe a pie chart, and on. But I'm gonna stick with the column chart because I think it's a better option here. Okay, that's it. Let me click in the chart, just move it around a bit. Just gonna make the chart underneath the table. I'm gonna click in this little circle right here and bring to the right to increase the size, and bring a little bit down like this. And yeah, that's it. So this is our chart in Excel, and if you click in the chart and go to chart design, you're gonna have access to a lot of different layouts and designs to choose and use in our chart. Let's say I'm gonna stick with this option right here, style 6. I think this one is Q. And something very interesting here is The chart is showing us all the data that I have in my data set. But if I use here any filter, let's say I want to just see the information that has 10 units in stock. I'm going to click here. Look what's going to happen with the chart. The chart is automatically filtered for me. Oh, sorry. Let me clear everything here. I'm going to uncheck this option and I'm going to choose just the number 10. Okay, so look at the chart. Automatically change the informations. That way we can see that the chart works in a automatically and dynamic way. Whenever you filter the table, the chart is going to follow along. So I hope this video can help you out on how can we have a data entry in Excel, creating the headers and then the data that we're going to use, change the format using currency, also using the multiplication formula, creating the slicers, creating a sum function or using a addition formula, and also create here a column chart in Excel that can change automatically whenever you choose another option. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you have any questions or any suggestions to the next ones, let me know, comment down below, and I see you tomorrow as every day has a new video. I see you there.